Alright, what is going on YouTube? So today's video, I actually wanted to talk about something interesting, but perhaps isn't as straightforward for this channel. And that is regarding the Scott Pilgrim anime, Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. So as you guys may know, I'm a huge fan of Scott Pilgrim. I love the franchise, I love the movie, I love the comics, I love the game, and I already know I'm gonna be a huge fan of the anime. I'm not sure if a lot of you guys are fans of the franchise. If you are, definitely let me know in the comments below. But I actually did make a video a while ago, I want to say it's been years now, on this channel talking about how Scott Pilgrim might be the best quote-unquote anime live action adaptation that we've ever gotten. Now obviously at the time there was not an anime of Scott Pilgrim. The title and the whole concept of the video was more so a play on the fact that Edgar Wright was inspired by anime when he directed the film, and how I think a lot of the film has a lot of anime translated into live action very well, and you can see a lot of techniques that Edgar used to make it work, and I just think, in my opinion, he did such a great job with making something feel like anime in live action. Highly recommend you guys check out that video if you haven't. But I think it's interesting to talk about this franchise Scott Pilgrim because it's a franchise that started off as a Canadian comic series. Then it got a live action movie along with a video game, and you know, now it's getting an anime like years and years later. And to me, like how I mentioned in that video, Scott Pilgrim was, you know, a movie that came out and no one cared about it at all when it came out in theaters. Like, no one cared about that movie, but all of a sudden years later it becomes like a cult classic and everyone's favorite movie all of a sudden, you know? And it's just kind of interesting to me how, you know, when it came out no one cared about it, no one supported it, now everyone loves it, and years and years and years later, like, it gets a re-release of the video game, and you know, now it gets an anime with, you know, all the original actors reprising their role, which is insane, and that's amazing. We love that. But yeah, it's just really interesting to talk about and to see. You know, I think Scott Pilgrim would fit the world of anime very well, so it's, you know, awesome to see this actually happen. But I think it's also interesting because when we talk about other live action adaptations, you know, getting an anime, like the Suicide Squad anime that's coming out, like that's interesting, you know? Tomb Raider, which, you know, started off as a game series, but then for the most part got a lot of live action movies, is now getting an anime as well, and I'm all for it, you know? Devil May Cry is getting another anime adaptation. Like, there's just so many franchises getting anime. Like, we are in the age of anime now, and I'm all for it, you know? I love it. I'm here, you know? I love anime, obviously. But I think it's just really interesting to see. And I guess, you know, like with a lot of my videos and how I talk about anime being translated into live action, I also think it's interesting to talk about live action properties and adaptations being translated into anime. So I think I will start to cover a lot of these anime being made from live action adaptations. And again, I know it's kind of hard to classify them as like live action anime because I do feel like, you know, you could argue that, well, Suicide Squad anime, it started as a comic book and, you know, it's not really live action anime. But I feel like most of these properties, like Suicide Squad, Scott Pilgrim, Tomb Raider, a lot of people recognize the live action adaptations of these franchises the most, I would say. Like, again, Scott Pilgrim, we all know there's comics and there's a game of it, but I feel like most people came to love this series from that movie because the movie was just so out there, so unique and so amazing. I love it, but I feel like without the movie it wouldn't be where it is today, for sure. Same with Suicide Squad. I think Suicide Squad, you know, I know there's, you know, some comic book fans out there that have been wanting Suicide Squad stuff, I guess, but to me, I only know anything about Suicide Squad because of the movie, you know, that came out, and then they made another movie, and you know, whatever, like, it is what it is. But I feel like, you know, there's a game coming out too, but it hasn't come out yet, right? But either way, like, I feel like the only way that I even know Suicide Squad is from the movie, right? And Tomb Raider, I do love the Tomb Raider games, I can't even lie, but I do feel like Tomb Raider does have a pretty big foot in the Hollywood live action universe because you had those movies with Angelina Jolie, and then they had like other movies, and I actually never watched those, but I should. But anyway, like, I do think Tomb Raider, I wouldn't say is mostly known for its live action presence, but it does have a strong one for sure. I can only imagine that later down the road we're gonna get even more anime from these big franchises that exist in Hollywood. I can already imagine that. The same with how these anime that are huge are getting live action Hollywood adaptations. I feel like the reverse is also happening, where these Hollywood live action adaptations or properties that are pretty big in the Hollywood atmosphere are getting anime adaptations. And I think it's just something that's really interesting to see and really interesting to talk about. So again, I think I'm going to start covering a lot of these and, you know, make it as like a live action anime series or segment of videos on the channel. Not exactly sure how it's gonna go down or how I'm gonna make it work, but you know, I just want to pay attention to the series or the anime that interests me the most. Obviously, huge Scott Pilgrim fan, huge Devil May Cry fan, huge Tomb Raider fan, so I'm definitely going to be paying attention to those. Obviously, Devil May Cry is not live action, but there actually was supposed to be some live action movies being made, and you know, it kind of, I mean, that's all a different video, but you know, I'm just going to pay attention to the anime that interests me. Whether I make videos about them or not, I mean, we'll see, but I do think it's kind of worth mentioning and kind of worth talking about that, again, a lot of these anime that are being made do have a big foot in the Hollywood live action atmosphere, you know, like Scott Pilgrim, like Tomb Raider, Suicide Squad, and I just feel like it's kind of interesting to talk about the reverse. So the same way that I like to see how filmmakers take an anime and translate it into live action, and like, you know, to see what they do, to see how they portray the actors and everything, I also am kind of interested to see how anime takes something from live action or that has a live action adaptation and translates it into anime, and you know, seeing what they do, seeing how they handle the action, how they handle the openings, the endings, everything, you know? And again, like, just as I am a fan of film, I am way more of a fan of anime, so of course I would want to talk about that as well. So yeah, hopefully you guys are interested in things like that. I mean, I do have like thoughts and stuff regarding just anime and like videos that I've wanted to talk about for a while, but you know, I just feel like for the time being, I don't have too much time to make videos on this channel, so I just try to keep it focused on anime live action when I can. But yeah, if I ever did have more time, I think I would talk more about like just anime and, you know, a lot of other things too. So yeah, it was just something I wanted to talk about and something I've been thinking about. So let me know what you guys think about Scott Pilgrim getting an anime. Are you guys excited? Would you guys like to see more video games or live action movies get made into an anime? And if so, which ones would you like to see? Let me know in the comments below. Please leave a like on the video and subscribe if you haven't already. That helps me out a ton. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And I'll see y'all in the next video.